The Industrial Revolution was a period from 1750 to 1850 where changes in agriculture, manufacturing, mining, transportation, and technology had a profound effect on the social, economical, and cultural conditions of the times. The Industrial Revolution marks a major turning point in history. Almost every aspect of daily life was influenced in some way. The cotton gin is a machine designed to remove cotton from its seeds. The process uses a small screen and pulling hooks to force the cotton through the screen. It was invented by Eli Whitney on March 14, 1794, one of many inventions that occurred during the American Industrial Revolution.
The cotton gin made the cotton industry of the South explode. Previous to its invention, separating cotton fibers from its seeds was a labor-intensive and unprofitable venture. However, after Eli Whitney unveiled the cotton gin, processing cotton became much easier, resulting in greater availability and cheaper cloth. However, the invention also had the byproduct of increasing the number of slaves needed to pick the cotton, thereby strengthening the arguments for continuing slavery. Cotton as a cash crop became so important that it was known as King Cotton and affected politics up until the Civil War.
In the 1870s, two inventors, Elisha Gray and Alexander Graham Bell, both independently designed devices that could transmit speech electrically. Both men rushed their respective designs to the patent office. Within hours of each other, Alexander Graham Bell patented his telephone first. Elisha Gray and Alexander Graham Bell entered into a famous legal battle over the invention of the telephone, which Bell won. The telegraph and telephone are both wire-based electrical systems, and Alexander Graham Bell's success with the telephone came as a direct result of his attempts to improve the telegraph.
When Bell began experimenting with electrical signals, the telegraph had been an established means of communication for some 30 years. Although a highly successful system, the telegraph with its dots and dash Morse code had basically limited to receiving and sending one message at a time. Bell's extensive knowledge of the nature of sound and his understanding of music enabled him to conjecture the possibility of transmitting multiple messages over the same wire at the same time. Although the idea of a multiple telegraph had been in existence for some time, Bell offered his own musical or harmonic approach as a possible practical solution. His harmonic telegraph was based on the principle that several notes could be sent simultaneously along the same wire if the notes or signals differed in pitch. Samuel Morse successfully exploited the electromagnet and bettered Joseph Henry's invention. Morse made sketches of a magnetized magnet based on Henry's work. Morse invented a telegraph system that was a practical and commercial success.
Samuel Morse used pulses of current to deflect an electromagnet which moved a marker to produce written codes on a strip of paper, the invention of the Morse code. The following year, the device was modified to emboss the paper with dots and dashes. He gave it a public demonstration in 1838, but it was not until 5 years later that Congress funded $30,000 to construct an experimental telegraph line from Washington to Baltimore, a distance of 40 miles. 6 years later, members of the Congress witnessed the sending and receiving of messages over part of the telegraph line. Before the line had reached Baltimore, the Whig Party held its national convention there, and on May 1, 1844, nominated Henry Clay. This news hand-carried to Annapolis Junction, where Morse's partner Alfred Vail wired to the capital. This was the first news dispatched by electric telegraph. The inventors of the first airplane were Orville and Wilbur Wright. On December 17, 1903, the Wright brothers made their first successful experiment in which a machine carrying a man rose by its own power, flew naturally and at even speed, and descended without damage.
As part of the Wright brothers' systematic practice of photographing every prototype and test of their various flying machines, They had persuaded an attendant from a nearby life-saving station to snap Orville right in full flight. The craft soared to an altitude of 10 feet, traveled 120 feet, and landed 12 seconds after takeoff. After making 2 longer flights that day, Orville and Wilbur Wright sent a telegram to their father instructing him to inform the press that manned flight had taken place. This was the birth of the first real airplane.
The first great invention developed by Edison in Menlo Park was the tinfoil phonograph. While working to improve the efficiency of a telegraph transmitter, he noted that the tape of the machine gave off a noise resembling spoken words when played at high speed. This caused him to wonder if he could record a telephone message. He began experimenting with the diaphragm of a telephone receiver by attaching a needle to it. He reasoned that the needle would prick paper tape to record a message. His experiments led him to try a stylus on a tinfoil cylinder, which to his great surprise played back a short message he recorded. Mary had a little lamb.
Thomas Edison's greatest challenge was the development of the practical incandescent electrical light. Contrary to popular belief, he didn't invent the light bulb, but rather he improved upon a 50-year-old idea. In 1879, using lower current electricity, a small carbonized filament, and an improved vacuum inside the globe, he was able to produce a reliable, long-lasting source of light. The idea of electric lighting was not new, and a number of people had worked on and even developed forms of electric lighting. But up to that time, nothing had been developed that was remotely practical for home use. Edison's eventual achievement was inventing not just an incandescent electrical light, but also an electric lighting system that contained all the elements necessary to make the incandescent light practical, safe, and economical. After 1.5 years of work, success was achieved when an incandescent lamp with a filament of carbonized sewing thread burned for 13.5 hours. The Industrial Revolution that occurred in the 19th century was of great importance to the economic future of the United States. 3 industrial developments led the way to industrialization in America. Transportation was expanded, electricity was effectively harnessed, and improvements were made to the industrial processes.